Okay, I've fitted one of these ED3 version 6 hot ends. I'll show you this a bit closer just now. Now you might see these like blue bulldog clips. I got these from Poundland. Those are to hold this metal bracket on here that knocks the limit switch, the end stop, which was actually fastened to the smooth rod, but that will give me a bit further left movement, because I do plan to change the bed on here anyway, which I'm going to talk a little bit about this bed just now. Before I do that, I'll show you this a little bit better, I hope. So here's the hot end, and what I've got on the top actually is two roundish washers which I drilled the inside out with one of those step sort of drill tools, and I would really recommend them for drilling holes into, well, mild steel like this or thin metal. I did drill a hole in the corner, I doubt if you can see it, and put grommet for some wires to go through down there. It's just to the right of this other again stop here. Because they cut really quickly, those step drills through mild steel like this. I was surprised how quick they can cut, and reasonably accurate. They do leave a bit of a bear on, so you still have to file them down, so be careful about that. But anyway, I drilled a hole out in these two biggish washers, as I was saying. Cut a little bit of a notch out because there is a like tie up there, and I glued them together with a piece of thinnish card between. Let me move this clip out the way a bit so you can possibly see a little bit better. And also I've wedged a bit of card underneath, and that sort of, I had to sort of also drill this plate here a little bit with the step drill. I took it off, drilled it a bit bigger so that this fitting on the hot end will go in there. Couple of slots cut in with a Dremel disc, and this small metal plate put across. That was after drilling the hole, so drill the hole first and then cut the slots in. There was a hole in, but was the wrong size, made it a bit bigger I think. And then I can screw this like plate here that can, well, come out or go in to a certain extent, and I can release this. That's very firm in there, that hot end. As I say, this micro switch here, limit end switch, that was actually on the smooth rod. That meant it was a bit further forward, and it has to be further forward anyway to avoid the nuts on the bill plate. But I've actually screwed it to this plastic sort of carriage here. But at the moment I'm having to use this because otherwise this carriage does go too far left and it will bang the nuts. Obviously you probably could do something like that in the software, but this is just a quick and like ready job in a way. Get that clipped on there. Move it a little bit more, better to be moved over. These were from Poundland, and I think they're supposed to be reindeers because I got them quite near Christmas. I don't know what they look like, rabbits maybe. Don't ask me. We get about £6-4, so pretty good pricing. So that's just again another piece of it's off an expansion plate off a computer, and that knocks against that switch a bit earlier than what the carriage will, but eventually I'll be able to take this off when I get my new bed. Now what I wanted to show you is about the bed actually. So what I've noticed when I was trying to print with this 1.75 this takes, this ED3 is it? Whatever it is, hot end. Apparently it's supposed to be really good. I can't really 100% comment because I've got other problems which I'm going to talk about now, and it's to do with this bed here. Now you can probably see some of the markings on this bed, somewhere done by me, somewhere by the previous owner, because this was spares or repairs, this printer, and there's been a lot of damage done by me of the hothead hitting here, like marking here. Now this is acrylic. Acrylic's about 5mm thick, but it actually bores. I'll show you that just now. So I've got these couple of rulers, and this is one of these folding rulers. Had this a long time. These are meant to be very straight actually, the edges of these, as long as you look after them. And this is off an old combination sort of set, so it's getting a bit rusty now. I think the edge on it's pretty straight. This is probably better to use because of the hinge and such like here, and it has these protective edges on the ends of this ruler. That might affect or have an impact. I don't know how well we can see this. Let me get the light behind if I can. I'll turn some of the other lighting off. You might see that there is a bit of light under there, especially if I think I go along this way. Yet it is touching at the ends. Now actually I think that's bad enough that I can easily pass a sheet of paper underneath if I can get the edge. Do it that way. Yep. I can easily move, and to say use a piece of paper to level your heads. I probably could get that actually folded actually. Let me try and fold in this. Okay. Yes, so that's like a double sheet there. That's that edge, and I can do the same I think with this steel ruler at least. Yeah, just about two pieces, but I'm going a bit of an angle there. So this bed is actually like got a bow in it. It dips down in the middle and then comes up at the edges. So when I'm lining up the edges, so when I'm adjusting these balls here, yes, it's lining up in the corners when you line it up, but when it gets in the middle, it can be almost 1mm or 2mm high, a gap. So when it's coming across, it's not sticking to the plate, and it's been okay for doing small objects if I line up the middle, like this cube. Like this cube. Not come out too bad, I don't think. You know, bit modifications. So anyway, I plan to change this bed anyway, and I'll show you what I'm hoping to do with the bed. Well, what I hope to do with the bed, this is a piece of like cutting board, you know, this antiseptic sort of stuff. It's supposed to stop the spread of, well, diseases and germs and such like to your food. What we found is food tends to slip on this. It's about 10mm thick. But I sawed this down just using a normal wood saw, and it cuts like soft wood. It's quite easy to cut, soft, just like quite soft wood, and it produces even a sawdust like soft wood. Filed it down and sanded it down. So, and then I put some holes drilled part of the way in for the nuts. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to put this on top like that, just so I can keep this plate here, or just put on top. And one problem with this is, to a certain extent, I'm going to lose a lot of this, the spring pressure that I get on this build plate. Let me try and get that back on because it does line up. Okay, but anyway, it's to have that on there first. Then on top of that, I've got some glue stuff on order, a piece of cork, then a hot bed plate, and then this aluminium plate, which I've still got the like protective coating on this. But the idea there would be to have that sandwich, something like that, and that would give me a lot bigger build area. As I say, that is one reason of having this up there, because then this head will be able to go all the way left. So that head would go all the way left. There's about almost 50 millimeters there, and in the software be able to go further right and reach right up to here. Forward and back there's not much actual movement there, but that is a basic idea, and I've been in touch with a company that supply heated beds, one that will do about this size, and they're a bit slow in responding, let's put it that way. I hope to hear back from them. If I don't, then I might even go to make my own heated bed. Mightn't be too difficult because I've been experimenting with some enamel wire just wrapped around a piece of perf board type stuff, and that gets pretty warm on 12 volts. So something like that might do. But basically that is a plan, so I'll be putting on here, might even have a sheet of glass on here, or glass on top of this aluminium, because the aluminium will help spread the heat. That's about 3 millimeters thick, that aluminium. The cork to insulate it, and then this underneath to support it. I've also got two other smooth rods on order for these smooth rods on the left and right, because this carriage still wobbles. Now I have, as you might see in my other video, put longer bearings in the sides there, because it had the two normal size bearings. I put the longer one to replace each of the two, and I think that helped a bit. Another idea is to actually loosen the motors off down below a bit, so that the actual motors can move, because the threaded rods are probably always going to wobble. I don't think there's much you can do about threaded rod wobble, to be honest with you, unless you're going to go to engineering CNC sort of standards or something like that, which will cost a lot of money. So that filament is now, just show you the filament I'm using there, is there, and move this. This is just a piece of cardboard I put there to keep drafts from this door, anybody coming in and out. So there's a filament 1.75, that feeds into the normal feeder I have. That's okay. I was quite surprised how thin the tube is. By the way, this hot end did come almost complete. Came with a thermostat fitted. I think the fan was fitted. Can't really remember if the fan was fitted or not. But it came with a Borden tube. It came with a pressure release valve things to fasten the Borden tube on. Just about all complete. It was a bit loose, needed tightening up. That was about it really. So that's some of the updates what I'm hoping to do, and I'm hoping that this aluminium sheet, when I get done, especially with a glass, possibly a glass plate on top of it, that's something to be decided, but then it's getting thicker and thicker all the time down here. Another thing I found with this hot end is, because the old hot end almost used to fasten up here on the actual pressure nut thing where it goes in, this one actually goes on the latch, so, and I think it's a bit shorter anyway, so it's a bit higher up. because that's higher up the hot end tip. Obviously you've had to V0 stuff, but I think that's going to give me a little bit more height to play with anyway. That will allow for any thickness on the bed. So that's all planned. I also have on order, just let me put that card back a bit. I also have on order for the control ramps. And why use ramps when I've already got a control board? It's a Sangalulu version 1.3a, I believe. Is because ramps will give me a lot more options. I have things like servo ports on. They're easier to hook up to the full screen LCD display things and other factors, and there's a lot more, seems a lot more software support, firmware support, easier to do. It's not impossible with this board. Sangalulu version 1.3a, I believe. But it's be a lot harder to do. So I have a ramps kit on order, and I'm hoping that will help, because I'll be able to change the firmware easier. So I've had a lot of problems printing out, and that might explain some of the warping that I was getting on bigger prints. Is that the bed, the actual acrylic bed that came with it when I got it second hand or third hand even, that's my understanding, is the person who sold it to me had bought it off somebody else second hand, is that is bone, like a dent in the middle almost to a certain extent, and even a couple of hundredth is enough to throw it off. Even 1/100th, as you will know, is enough to upset the bed level. So that's sort of planned, waiting for the heat bed. As I say, I want to see if this company gets back in touch with me.